Yes.
They're coming in.
So funny.
Good morning, everyone. I see we have quite a few people joining us. It's really good to see all of you. We were a bit early, so we'll just give the rest of the peeps a few minutes to join us, and then we'll kick this off. Yeah, is everyone okay? Can I have a wave there? I see some familiar faces. Hello, Pamela, Madeleine, Margot. So what we're going to do is we're going to play some music. When the camera hits you, please do a wave, high five, you know, a happy dance, whatever floats your boat. And then we'll just give the rest some time to join us. Ghislaine, it's very good to see you too. Marty, oh my word, that's fantastic.
The look of love is in your eyes, a look your smile can't disguise. The look of love is saying so much more than just words could ever say. And what my heart has heard, well, it takes my breath away. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, you've got the look of love. It's on your face, a look that time can't erase. Baby, be mine tonight. Let this be just the start of so many nights like this. Let's take a lover's vow and then seal it with a kiss. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. Don't ever go. I love you so. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. Don't ever go. I love you so.
Hey everyone. I think we'll wait another 2 minutes before we get going. Terry, is that, I mean, what is the waiting room looking like, or do you want us to kick off?
So we have 23 people in, no one in the waiting room, but yeah, I think should we do another song?
We can do, everyone else for one more song for a happy dance on the Wednesday, or do you want to get going? Okay, Mariheca looks like she wants to dance, so let's give one more song and then we'll go.
Perfect. I'm going to do an upbeat song now.
Thank you, Terry. That was a lot of fun. I think from now we should start all of these meetings, or all Zoom meetings, I think in general, with a little song. So welcome everyone. So just firstly that you're aware this session is being recorded. Just that we can share it with whoever can't make it at this specific time. My name is Hannah Dimash, and I'm really, really happy to welcome you on behalf of the Business by Her family to the first event this year. You know, the big global crisis, the pandemic has sort of put a slowdown on a lot of these events. So I'm really glad we could pull this one together. So thank you, Shani and Samke, for organizing for us. And I really hope that we can do this, at least the next one, in person and share a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, now that we can have some together. So welcome everyone. Just some quick housekeeping. So again, thank you Terry and Andre for helping us with the technology. Andre, as you know, is an old Business by Her fan, so it's really good to have you guys on. Terry would have muted all of you, and it will remain muted for the duration of the session, just to make sure that we don't have any interference. We'll also, the chat box will not be available during the session, but at the end of the session, we'll open the chat box that you can pop some questions for Mariheca. I'm sure you'll have some. So keep your questions for the end. And then I'm not going to spend too much time. I know you're all here to listen to the big doctor. So what I'm going to do before we get going is just put up a quick poll just to get you to think about how you feel about some of these topics. So if you can just quickly pick your answers, one choice per question, and then we'll kick off after that. And just that you're aware, there are 3 questions, so just scroll down for the third one. Okay, all done. Can I get a hands up? Everyone comfortable? You need a few more minutes to digest the questions?
Yeah, there's only 15 of 26 people have answered, so I'll leave it up, and why don't you carry on talking and people can still answer it while you carry on. So
I'm today super excited to have Mariheca Otto with us. It's been a while that I've really wanted her to join us on a session like this. I mean, I'm sure you would have come across her work somewhere already. If not, you would have seen her in the Sunday newspaper like we did. So it was like really cool to see an article with you there. Mariheca has 20 years experience in internal marketing and industrial psychology. And I know that you're going to tell me that I'm lying, because she doesn't look a day older than 25. And I think that maybe because of the fact that she spent 8 weeks in Bali. So I'm going to ask you to tell us about your little experience in Bali, that we can kick off with some practical lessons that you had from Bali. So give us a bit of a background of what happened and just sort of some of the lessons from your time there.
Oh, thanks, Anne. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I love things like this because I think during this period, it's so freaking weird not to be able to connect with people properly, and to do this sort of thing, just, you know, for an extrovert, this really fires you up. We need this. And it's really cool because for the introverts, and the crowd, you can mute yourself and you don't have to be visible, and you can just soak up as much as you want. But I'm going to try to bring you some stuff that might be helpful or not helpful, but I'd love to share. So it's actually quite funny. I didn't really expect people to be interested in my lessons in Bali, because I felt quite stupid about the fact that I got stranded there. And that was probably one of my biggest lessons, okay? So I was asked to do this 10 lessons from Bali thing just when I came back. So I was stuck there for 8 weeks. I was planning to do like a 10-day lekker mama retreat thingy and just be, you know, just get some peace of mind and just and just do a little bit of yoga and meditation and just come back enlightened. And unfortunately for me, so I must admit, I am quite a risk taker. So I am the kind of person that will say, no, man, it won't happen to me kind of thing. And it was quite funny because my eldest boy is 15 and he said to me, before I went, said to me, you know, you're really stupid about this. You're going to get stuck. And I honestly, true to God, honestly thought, man, kind is belachelijk. I honestly thought he was just being a drama queen. And I remember saying goodbye to him and said, don't be stupid. This won't happen. So, of course, he's been riding that since then. But so I didn't see that this is how quickly things are going to happen. And I think a lot of us didn't see that. And one of my big lessons was just having to hold that really, that shame thing of my corner. How could you get stuck in another country? How can you get stuck away from your children like this? So the first week for me was absolute bliss, and it was pure on, full on holiday. There was no drama. And then suddenly things turned south very, very quickly. And I think what is really hard is having to be there and still be connected to people. And I think a lot of people experience this in a different way. So all of us had to move into our little shells and our little cocoons and be in this surreal space without the proper connection. And one of the things that have been coming out through the work that I've been doing with other people that I've been connecting is that how people are really struggling with that because they don't have that space that they can go to that's almost like a normality check, a reality check. And because of this loss of connection, what has been happening is this, I mean, you guys know this, but there's been so much domestic violence going through the roof, and abuse and suicide and things like that. So I'm on a mission to just try to get business people to understand that this is now the time where you need to reach out and really connect with the people that work for you and with you. Because if we do not have that belonging and that sense of connection, then it's a basic need. That need for connection it's a fundamental beingness of us. If you look at what happens with babies when they're born, what is it that makes them thrive? It's the fact that they have this connection. So that was one of my big lessons. And the irony is, so listen to this, So I ended up, Marty, you'll appreciate it. So Leon Jacques said to Elsa, which is a school friend of mine, she said, she phoned me and she said to me, listen, Leon Jacques said that you need to write a book called Eat, Pray, Yoga. And the irony is the word yoga means to connect. And I've loved yoga, and yoga has been a bit of a lifesaver with me from a health point of view and a mental health point of view. And I didn't even realize this is what it meant. But that whole thing of connecting with people deeply and connecting with yourself and seeing what's going on for you has just been an incredible lifesaver. And also what I think happens during this period is that we realize very, very clearly, wow, peeps, who are the people that really see us, even if they're not with us, but they get us, and they accept us fully, warts and all. So what I've also been seeing a lot of, and was is the realness of people. And I think being stuck in Bali and having to be in a swimming costume for 90% of the time because it's so freaking hot. And I know it sounds idyllic, but it's quite hectic, especially if you're sort of menopausal. For some of you that might associate. It's freaking hectic. You're constantly sticky. But it was fantastic. Point is, you've got to dip the whole time. And so you have these meetings with serious people sitting there thinking, I'm going to die. And they jump in the pool quickly. So you can't pretend. You can't pretend anymore. You can't try to be cool and calm and whatever. And also the other thing that I think from a girly point of view that happened to me is I was holding my makeup bag in hand when I was packing, and I was thinking, yeah, but I'm not going to take this with me. I'm going on my own. I'm not going to see anybody. I'm going to a freaking yoga retreat in Bali. Why would I need makeup? I'm going to connect myself and be lekker serene. I don't need makeup. So, and then of course, I realized after my lovely Tinder excursion that extended to a lot longer, I realized, well, you're so stuck and you just have to be real, or even trying to pretend or trying to be something else. And ironically, what has happened for me was that I was able to say to people, because I was so freaking vulnerable, I was able to say to people, to clients and to other people, listen, just show yourself. You know, this is what we are. This is who we are. We do not have to be perfect all the time. And coincidentally, I got hold of Brené Brown's book, Gifts of Imperfection, while I was in quarantine. And the same thing happened for me there, is when I just realized, you know what, this is the thing. If we can just start really loving our imperfections, it is that then we're there, then we're getting there. Because we cannot love somebody more than we love ourselves. So if we can love our arcs and our flaws and our mistakes and our imperfections, then we can really be there and get out there and really show up for other people and connect fully. And life is just so much more full and deep and like that. So Han, I can carry on with this because I've got like 10 lessons, and I can just. So you must.
No, so what I can. So I mean, what was interesting for me, and it sort of comes back to something that we've been discussing, and you know, we embarked as an organization on a process with Mariheca in the motto context on a gender perception survey, and one of the things that came out of that survey is just how little time we allow ourselves as women. So we don't value our own needs necessarily. You know, we feel indebted to everyone except ourselves. And I think, was there anything that came out of your trip? I think a few of your lessons sort of touched on that point of allowing yourself the time to do eating, praying, yogaing, whatever that is that you need. So that me time stuff.
Yeah, and you know what is quite scary? It's funny that you're asking that question now, because when I was there, when you have to be in these sort of weird circumstances and you allow yourself to go deep and deal with your demons and deal with your stuff, then you sort of say to yourself, I'm not going back there. I'm changing now, and I'm not going to allow this nonsense again. Okay, this thing of not valuing what you need. And I found it so, you know, I actually read my journal that I was writing 2 nights ago in Bali, and I was stunned at how clear it was for me how important it is that you have to put time aside to become still. And that particular one, I think, because it's weird for a lot of people to talk about these things, but I found that if you do not make time just to be quiet, whether you're in nature or whether you're going for walks or whether you pray or whether you journal or whether but you're alone and you connect, if you don't make time for that, all the other things sort of creep in and it becomes noise on top of it. So I had a little bit of a come to Jesus moment a few nights ago when I realized, well, sissy, you've been working backwards here, because you came back, and I can tell you it was a mussel shock in the system to get back here and to realize that I left a really cool country and I came back to the zombie apocalypse. I was so shocked at what it looked like and how people were and how, it was just horrible what has happened. So it was like, and it really hit hard, and it took me probably, that was a bigger shock, I think, as realizing, no, it wasn't, but it was almost such a big shock as realizing I'm not coming back. And then you freaking quickly have to adapt, and you've got to settle, etc., and become used to everything again, and you had this lack of pattern. And that was one of the things that I came home with, and that I really want to encourage you guys to do, is if you can find the formula that keeps you healthy. So for example, I know that I need to drink a certain amount of water every day, otherwise I start feeling sick. I know I need to eat a certain number of fruit. I know I need to get hold of kombucha. Okay, so it's like, these are the things that I need. Okay, and I only figured it out after suffering again. So it's like we like so tough. And I think, sorry boys, but girls, we are so freaking tough. And we just look after everybody else's need. Alle kinders, alle boyfriends, and alle goede. But you don't freaking look after yourself. And I realized, yeah, this is, if I want to survive and I actually want to be who I'm meant to be, I need to put time aside. And this is just how it's going to be. And you've got to learn to say no to these other noises and craft out your space in terms of time and stuff and whatever you need to be able to be your best self. And because if you don't value yourself, nobody else is going to value you. And if you don't value your time, nobody else is going to value it. And that was a huge sort of post-Bali lesson where I realized, I was going back there where I wanted to not be, and to jump back again. And it's amazing because when it's not like it's actually an upward spiral, if I can call it that. Once you go past the point of, flip it, Frau, you haven't been doing this now for 3 days, stop it, get back into things. It's not like you've went down, it's just you need to reaffirm how important it is that you actually set this time aside for yourself. It is critical for survival.
Yeah, I think it's super difficult, and we always find a million excuses. So I think finding that formula probably is the sort of the thing we need to do. It's like sort of find the things that you need and make time for it. So thank you for that, Mariheca. Now, why we're all here actually today is not to speak about Bali, but we've already gotten quite a few really good tips and lessons. So thank you for sharing. We are here to talk about how to ask for what you want and get it. So that could potentially be asking your husband for time to do yoga. I don't know, but I'm really excited to have this sort of extra piece of equipment in my toolkit. So I'm really excited for you to tell us, Mariheca, what are the tips and tricks around asking for what you want and getting it?
Sure. So logic tells us if you don't ask, you don't get. But in a weird way, it's like we assume people will know and they will see what we need. And then we end up not getting what we wanted and then feeling hurt and resentful about the fact that somebody else didn't see what you wanted and what you needed. And I think in a weird way, I want to be a little bit harsh, but I think, and I've got to be hard with myself sometimes about it too, but if you, and I think if you're very tolerant, you allow a lot of stuff to happen, and it's almost like a creeping, like a boundary creeping of things happening because you're so freaking nice and you're so capable and you can so look after so many things that we end up thinking, especially in relationships, I think with your traditional sort of man, but even in the workplace too, I think we end up not asking for what we want. So I want to give you a formula. You see, I like 3-point plans and 5-point plans and things like that. And this particular methodology, I've been training and teaching and talking about it for many years. And if you do research on conflict resolution, if you do work, you read up a little bit on confrontation skills, etc., what you will find is it's always a combination of these 3 steps. And over the years, I've sort of distilled through what really is like critical. But ultimately, for you just to show up and step up and be clear on what you need, you will get what you need. So let me explain. So the first step, so the acronym is A, okay, AIR. And it is it's the idea behind it, to remember it, is to say, how do we clear the air? And the idea is that if you don't have what you need, or you don't get what you want, then there's some sort of a cloud. There's something that hangs over you, and you want to open that up. And to clear the air, it means it's like, okay, now we can breathe, waiting to exhale, kind of thing. So the first step, the A, is to create awareness. So if you look at any change process, any sort of, now we want to transform, even after massive loss and trauma and things like that, you always have to start at a point where you see what is going on. Because what we tend to do is we make assumptions. We make an assumption that somebody else sees what you see, because they were there and they must have seen what you saw. And all of us will know that that's not how it works. Cognitively, we know this. But yet, intuitively, and the way we are wired, we look from one side, we cannot see what other people see. There's some research that says you can only see 3 different viewpoints if you try. So what I want to encourage you to do, and this is such an easy, soft way of asking what you want. People don't even know that you're asking for what you want. And you're getting it, then they don't even know how it happened. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to be very, very clear on what is it that you require, and what is it that what your need is, or what you want is. So if that is clear, then you hold it and you park it. You park it and you move away from it. And then what you do is you start creating the awareness. And the way to create the awareness is to paint a picture. So what you're literally doing is you're saying to somebody else, I want to show you what I'm seeing. So through my lens, this is what I'm seeing. And especially if it's something that's quite sensitive, or quite, that, you know, it's a massive conflict story, it's hard, because the person that you're going to be talking to, when they realize this is what you're talking about, is probably going to be defensive or in the ego. So what you want to do is you want to step out of your ego, okay, and pull them in a space where you're both vulnerable and where you're both super real. So what you want to do is you want to get through that shell, that outer shell first. Now, I want to try to make it practical. So I'm going to use a work scenario or a personal one, whatever. I'll do both, sort of. So the first one is, if you think about a work scenario, right, and you feel that you're not getting paid what you're worth, okay? What we've learned is that often, there's something like 90% of times, people are not even aware of how the other person really feels about a situation and how they see stuff, okay? Sometimes you deal with an arsehole that's just an arsehole, but most of the time it is just complete unawareness, and it's what we call limited exposure. So the other person has just not been exposed to what you've been exposed. So you come in with a perception, and what you want to do is you want to create awareness around what is going on. So something in the line of, and paint that picture of what you've been experiencing, okay? And do it in a way that the other person can feel your intent and can feel the emotion attached to it. Because that's the thing that makes it real and pulls you out of your ego and pulls the other person also out of the ego. So you go into that really uncomfortable space of being vulnerable, but it's safe enough and it's brave enough to actually get what you need. So you say something in the line of, I don't know if you're aware of it, but I'm qualified. I've been qualified for how many years as XYZ, and my annual salary is XYZ. And this is what the market rate is at the moment. And then you want to pause, because what you want to do is you just want that person to absorb what you've just said and to realize that you're not freaking out. So what girls tend to do is we tend to change our voice when we're upset. We go high. And to a boy, this sounds like that, you know, that TV thing? Beep. They hear nothing. Nothing. Okay? So what you want to do is you want to come in, keep your voice, maar nou nie vertraag wees nie, okay? Don't go like but just try to keep your voice down, first of all. Secondly, what you want to do, because remember, people don't listen to the words. There's something like 17% of what your message is the words. The rest is all the other stuff, okay? The body language, the tone, the mood that the other person is in. So what you want to do is you want to keep your voice calm. You want to talk a little bit slower, which is very hard for some of us. Some of us are like super fast speakers, and the more excited we become, the faster we talk. And they catch like none of your words, but it's okay. But in this particular situation, if you're asking for what you want, slow down, sweetheart. Slow down, okay? So talk slowly. A lot of people cannot deal with the eye contact thingy. They struggle with it. But that's what you want to do. You want to try to make eye contact because that is where the connection sits, right? And that, again, is in that vulnerable space out of the ego. But like my lover boy, my partner, he struggles with that. So when I'm like super duper intense and I now want to talk about something that I need, he gets up and he wants to walk and talk. It irritates the shit out of me, okay? So it pushes me, it triggers me completely out of my calm, serene state. But this is now, we've got to just be aware of what's going on inside you, okay? So we've now evolved into a place where I can say to him, please sit down. I need you to sit with me and I need to touch you, which freaks him out even more. But the point is, don't do that with a work thing, eh? Just with your lover boys or girls. So what you want to do is you want to create a scenario where the physical space is working for you. So one of the things that we teach when we deal with any sort of conflict resolution is you never, ever, ever, ever want to sit directly opposite somebody that you are having a difficult conversation with. There's a saying that we use that says only lovers and fighters, but even like only when you're in love and you want to jump on somebody, but not when you want to have a difficult conversation, okay? Can you sit opposite it? And if you want to have a fight and land up in court, which by the way, you're going to wait for months to have a case, then you sit like this. So don't do it. Just get the person to come and sit freaking next to you. And what we talk about is you have to sit in a, can you see it's a triangle, but it's also an upside down heart. Okay, so it's like a triangle, okay? So the idea is that you have like a third point, which could be your laptop screen, or it can be a document, like your salary slip, or it could be your work contracts. And you want to sit, now it's a bit difficult with all this bullshit going on with space and whatever, but you actually want to sit close enough that if you wanted to swing your leg, you would touch his or her leg, okay? So you want to sit close enough to be able to slap. Now you want to sit close enough to bump your knee and slap. So, and that's sort of what you want to create a physical space. Because remember what I said to you, 17%. So even if you memorize your script, the other person is not going to hear you because it's a difficult situation. And we as human beings are the suckiest communicators on earth. So if you think about it, so it's so funny. You can walk into any organization and you can ask them this question. I promise you, go and do it. If this is not the answer, I'll pay you money, lots. So this is always the question. So if there's one thing that you think you need to improve in this organization, what would that be? And the blanket answer is always communication, which means like we're struggling. Okay, and communication is so weit soos heerse genade. Okay, so communication is like bleh. So it's so stupid actually, but this is what we do as human beings. We think it's communication. But what it is we're not connecting. So step 1, create awareness, right? And what you then do is you paint that picture. And I really want to encourage you to, with that first phase, just to try to bring in the facts. Okay, so try to bring in the facts, and but the tone that you use is calm and really genuine, and you make that eye contact, and you know your whole body language should be open. Asseblief moenie so sit en iets vra nie. You're not going to get anything, you're closed. Okay, so open up, pull your shoulders back, straight back. It's the small things that make the difference. Okay, and then the I, air, right? That's my favorite. So the I is the I messages. So everything, and I messages and impact. Okay, you're not going to forget it. So what you want to do is you want to say, because of what is happening here, the awareness, right? So we've created the awareness now. We now see that these are the facts. This is what I've been paid. This is what I'm qualified to do. This is how I see my performance, blah, 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 blah. All die feite. You've said it now in your nice, calm tone, your deep voice. No pitching, no, ek is nou kwaad nie, niks nie. Just low voice. And then you want to move on to the next phase. And you pause, eh? You pause and you let the emotion just, okay? And make sure whoever you're talking to is paying attention, right? Then you move on to the next phase, and that's where you get really real. Because what you want to do then is you want to talk about the impact of what's been going on here. Whether it was unfairness, whether it was disrespect, whether it was just crossing a boundary, whatever it is, you want to go there now, Sissy. You want to move into the space of talking about what's going on for you. And the words that you want to use need to start with anything that refers to you, okay? So anything like, so you've already said, I don't know if you're aware of it, blah, 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 blah. So then you say, so, you know, the way I feel because of this is just totally disengaged. I feel it's so unfair. I feel so demotivated. I've been trying this and this and this, but I feel this, I think this about it. So obviously be real about it. So some of you guys are full on more cognitive, more thinking, talking people. Some of you will talk from the heart, and it's cool either way. But I really need you to talk just about your point of view and the impact it has on you. Because what you're doing is you're painting the picture for this guy. So imagine you sitting in front of somebody and you've got a box, right? And that's how perception works. The box represents the incident or the thing that went wrong, or the thing that you want to talk about, or the thing that you want to ask for. So this person only sees one side, and you see a different side. And what you're doing is you start off by saying, I don't know if you're aware of it, but basically there's another side to the story. And slowly but surely, you're turning that box so the other person can see what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. So you talk solely about your experience in it and the impact it has on you. And you go there. You really, this is where you've got to be so brave. And you've got to pull deep into your courage space and just bring it out. Okay, so that's lekker. So that's the I messages, and you're talking about the impact of this. And what I want to say to you about that particular thing is none of this people can disagree with you about, because it's your experience. So even if this person you're talking to say that's not true, so it's true for me. This is what I'm experiencing. This is the impact it had on me. Nobody can take away what you say there, because this thing created this thing. Does it make sense? And now you've got to move on to the next phase, and that's the R, okay? I love it because it stands for request. So I want to share something with you, and it's quite personal, but I'm going to share it anyway. So my dad is, he's like such a typical male, it's a joke. And he's a typical autocratic kind of guy, and he's a typical, it's a corporate okie, and he's full on left brain. He was an actuary, he was like, okay, so you've got the picture. So he was super duper successful in business a million years ago, because he could be like that. He could have like zero EQ, and he could thrive. Okay, so his brain's connections between left and right is like freaking non-existing. So what he does, and I've trained him now, it only took me 46 years, but it's fine. It's so worth it. But what I've trained him on is this: to not tell people, but to ask. So if you want to get a result, you request. Now, there are two super important reasons why you want to do that. The one is when you develop anybody, the only way to truly develop anybody is to coach them to do it. And true coaching is about asking questions. I've come across this really cool research now. I'm so excited about it. That said that 70% of learning, freaking all learning, they've done this now like over many universities, blah, blah, blah. And what they found is 70% of all learning is experiential learning. It's when you actually go and you test the stuff that I'm telling you today. I'd love some feedback, people. If you can, fantastic, but don't feel pressurized. You want to experience whether these things work for you or not, and then you can adapt it. So experiential learning is the thing. Okay, so to experience something, 20% of the learning is the coaching and the feedback. 20%. And guess what's the 10%? The actual training, the facts. So the stuff that I'm talking to you about now, when I'm telling you, listen, this is the research, blah, 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 this is what you should be doing, and I'm telling you, this is what would help. 10% of the actual learning. It's only when you put this thing in down, and you actually go and ask for what you need, that it's gonna work for you or not work for you, or you're gonna learn and you're gonna fail or whatever. And then you go back. Then you go back to your mentor, your coach, your connection, your somebody, and you say, okay, I freaking tried what this chick said, and this is what happened. And that 20% where this person is going, okay, how did it work? What is it? Not telling you what to do, but asking you questions to open up your mind, that's where the thing happens. So the reason why the R is a request is because it's a question. It's inviting. And what it does is it keeps you in that safe space. Brené Brown talks about the arena, and I've got this little picture that I always use in sessions where we talk about the vulnerable space inside and the ego is outside. And it's like sitting, you can either sit on the freaking bench and blah, or you can be in there. So it keeps you inside. It keeps you in a vulnerable space, because requests means you're asking for help. It means that you don't have all the answers. It means that you're looking for a solution, that you don't bring the solution, but you're asking. And you're suggesting, and you're open-minded. So it, like we know, it's the birthplace of innovation, creativity. So there's no freaking way you can do it anywhere else. You've got to do it in that little thing. Okay, so the request, you want to do something like, so in future, when we have our conversations about our performance agreement, blah, 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 please can you consider da, 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 da. So it's a request. Now, because you've done it properly, the person that you've been dealing with have actually seen you. They've actually connected with you. And it's only when you're dealing with a psychopath or a sociopath that it won't work. Because with those people, they can't feel what you feel. They don't feel the consequences of being a poop. So I actually want to say to you that in the how many years that I've been doing this stuff, and I've been teaching this, and I've been using it, and with clients and with other people, I've never had a situation when somebody said, you know what, that's a load of poop. It doesn't work. Because the reality is, it speaks to the realness of us. It speaks to getting out of our freaking egos, connecting properly with somebody, and talking about what you need. Okay. So now I'll quickly I just want to say one more thing about asking for what you need versus asking for what you want. Okay. So how am I going to explain this? Because this is like a constant thing for me. Okay. So I had bedrijfseconomie. Okay, it's business management from standard 6. And the basic thing they start teaching you is they talk about behoeftes. And with this is needs, right? And then they start by teaching you the difference between a need and a want. Because think about it. So the reason why I'm incredibly passionate about this is because the whole theory and all the work that I've been doing is based on relationship marketing. And relationship marketing says the only way for an organization to succeed is actually if you look at the people internally first before you go outside, because they are your people, right? And the way to look at it is to first look at their needs and wants. They must be your customers first. Okay, now that background, just park it for a bit. So if you think about what you're going to be asking for, the difference between a need and a want is this. A need talks to your self-esteem. A need talks to your self-worth and who you really are. And that deep thing inside the circle that I was talking about. So that is like, if that is not met, a boundary is being crossed. Then you'll get bullied. Then you'll get completely overlooked. You're not valued and you're not worthy. And that, my darlings, angels, that's just bullshit. Because none of us are not worthy, right? So that thing is super duper. But the problem, and that is something that I find almost on a daily basis when I deal with people, is that people are not aware of what their own needs are. Especially chicks, because we're so tuned into what other people need. So what do we tend to do? The safe space is the wants, and the wants sit outside. The wants are the ego stuff, and it's stuff that we can pluck on, you can put it on. And the wants are often the things that we think is going to feed this, but the wants are linked to confidence, because confidence, how do you build somebody's, and it's both equally important, right? Those two things need to be connected. So it's like what you are versus what you express and what you project. So that projection thing that I'm talking about now, the confidence thing, if that is too heavy, so if your confidence levels are so freaking over, but too high, it means that you're probably an ass, but then you're arrogant, okay? And then you will not be, the shell is so big and it's like barbed wire and nobody can come in and see you because you're so shit scared that somebody's going to find out you're not okay with yourself and that you think you're useless. But that thing that you're putting there, the wants and the goetertjies, that is the stuff that you think makes you worthy. But the irony is it's the connection of those things. So I'm never ever saying that don't get paid for what you're worth. Absolutely bloody not. What I'm saying is those two things need to be equal. Your self-esteem and self-confidence need to be fine. The self-esteem one is something that we understand and what we learn from our stories that we have, where we've built a story about what we truly are, versus the self-confidence is learned behavior. So it's when your dad says to you, when you shake a man's hand, do it properly. Put, back straight, sissy. Look somebody in the eye. Wear a proper dress. Don't wear those shoes. Blah, blah, blah. Wear lipstick, whatever it is. So learned behaviors, okay? And it's knowledge. So freaking studying till you get your whatever. And thinking this is who you are, okay? So there's nothing wrong with learning and experiencing and getting exposure. You need confidence to show up. And to get back to the point that Han was making earlier, one of the things that we suckle with as women is asking for what we want. Why? Wants and confidence are linked. So what I'm hoping I've done is giving you a thingy that you can try to do that. Asking for what you want, but please also ask for what you need and get it. More important. Don't know if you want anything else, and
thank you so much, Mariheca. That was really incredible. I'm sure that there are going to be some questions. So, Terry, if you can perhaps open the chat box for us, if people can jot some questions into the chat box. And then also, there are 2 more poll questions. So while you're thinking of chat box questions or whatever, we can put the poll questions up too. The one you'll see is the same one we asked in the beginning, and it's just to check whether you feel a bit more equipped now to ask for what you want. And the second one is just a general feedback. So Terry will put those up. And while you are putting your questions down and filling out the poll, I'll just recap to show that I really listened. So keep me honest, Mariheca. But I mean, for me, there were a few things. Obviously, when we look at your Bali experience, and I think many of us have also experienced this, by just how quickly things can change, and that I think we need to find the areas in our lives where we need to be prepared for this sort of radical black swan type of change. I really like what you were saying about being real and getting out of the ego across multiple of the discussions. Loving your imperfections. I think it's a theme that we've seen in so many adverts and things on TV, but like really getting down to understanding the demons and the warts and all, whatever. I think it really is something we need to put time aside to become still, was the other thing you said. So if we put the time aside to become still, to find that formula that keeps you healthy, to take care of yourself, that's definitely something we should do. Then in terms of the formula, so we have the AIR formula, so creating awareness, iMessages and impact, and requesting. I think you probably would have all made your notes, but we'll jot down a few too and send that out to you when we send you the link. So after the session, we will send you a link to the recording that you are welcome to share to friends, family, or anyone else. Sharing is caring, as my kids will tell me. So please feel free to do that. And we'll also send out a bit of a recap from the session, that you just have that. Let me just quickly check what we have in terms of questions. So Mariheca, they're asking for the link to your 10 lessons from lockdown. So definitely we'll do that. It is also on LinkedIn. I think I've seen it on Facebook under the motto pages, but we'll add the link to the 10 lessons from Bali for you. Okay, there are just some comments in terms of the polls, but perhaps we can look, Terry, while we wait for more messages, at some of the feedback that we had on the polls. Is that possible to put up?
I no, I can't put it up because I've already closed the polls. Sorry.
Okay, so can we see the results?
No.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, the way Zoom works, it only gives you the poll results once you've closed the meeting.
Okay, cool. Sorry. So what we'll do is we'll send you the poll results then at the end of that. I mean, that's changed obviously from the last time. I mean, Zoom, considering that they're doing so well in this crazy time, they're probably changing things all the time. So I don't see any other questions. Quickly before we log off, are there any other questions for Mariheca? Any practical advice anyone would like to know? Anything you need from us to share in our communication to you? Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then what I'm going to ask Terry to just, and I mean, I'm going to ask all of you to just please put your cameras on if you can, that we can all wave goodbye, at least see each other one last time before we go. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thanks for the few brave men who did the same thing. We really appreciate you. And we will hopefully see you again very soon at our next session. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a super day.
Right, I'm going to close the meeting, Hanley.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Terry and Andre, for helping us.